Stop selling on price and start selling on value. This is a subtle but important difference when you get to the part of a sales call or meeting when it's time to close the deal. I hear from so many people that they can get all the way through a meeting with a potential client or customer and feel like it's going great. They've had a really good connection. They've talked about the problems the client or customer has. They've shared some expertise. They're all ready to just close the deal and start figuring out how to spend that money. And the next thing you know, it goes totally south at the pricing. This is where people feel kind of queasy, get nervous, get all tripped up. I've seen so many people who are incredible experts in their domain. And if this is you, I see you. You're so good at what you do. But when it comes to talking about the money, it's just really difficult. So I'm going to share some things today that you can use right away on your next call or meeting so that you're not getting into a whole back and forth about the price. You're helping your client stay focused on the value that you're providing them. I'm going to help you understand this by sharing a few things that I've seen go wrong. In my sales programs, everyone shares what's not working on their sales calls. And so these are the top things that people are doing that is tripping them up when it's time to talk about pricing. The very first thing is they're not saying the price in a confident way that conveys conviction. So for instance, if you say your price and then you keep talking or say things like, well, it's 20,000, but if that's too much, or if you want to break that up into two parts, or if you only want to do part of the training, that's really going to undermine the price that you're giving your client. We teach in our program something we call speak up and shut up. I think I've already done a whole video on that, which is something I was trained in when I was a nonprofit fundraiser, where I would have to ask people for 100,000, 300,000, sometimes $1 million gifts. And they trained us to just say the amount and then be quiet. If you need to count to three in your head, count to three in your head. But practice saying your price and then just letting it sit there a minute. That's the first mistake I see people making when it comes to pricing. The second thing I see people do is backtracking. They'll say the price, they're worried the client can't afford it, or that maybe they're not going to say yes. All of a sudden they start panicking. All this time is wasted that I put into finding this client and getting on this call and doing this research. I want to close the deal. So they'll start backtracking on the price. That does not convey confidence. That doesn't make the person you're selling to feel like you really own your pricing. And owning your pricing is so important in being able to close more deals. The third thing I see people do is discounting. Just right away, knocking money off the top, saying, oh, okay, let's do it for a different amount, or I can give you 20% off. Now, it's okay to discount if it's something that you have thought through and that it's part of your strategy. For instance, many consultants have one rate for for-profits and a discounted rate for nonprofits. That's fine. That's part of your strategy. But if you find that you're discounting out of nervousness or panic or anxiety after you've said the price, that is probably undercutting your sales. The last thing I see people doing is not knowing how to reframe the conversation if it gets sticky around the pricing. Here's what they tell me they're doing out there. They're saying things like, well, I can always add in another session if they're a consultant, or we can send you a follow-up with, lots of tools your whole team can use. They start throwing things in that they think are going to add more value in order to justify the price that they put out there. That's not going to work. Once you're in a situation with someone where they're anxious about the price, there's really just two things that you should be doing. One, you should be reminding them why they're on this call or in this meeting in the first place. I always remind everyone who takes my sales programs that when clients come to you, they've probably had this problem that you're helping them to solve for weeks or months or years or an entire lifetime. So this is your precious opportunity to help them solve it. And you need to be confident enough in what you're going to deliver for them that you can successfully convey that during this pricing conversation. So sometimes it's just about reminding them, hey, you were telling me earlier you think that you're losing a lot of clients because your website is out of date. Let's say you're a company that updates websites or maybe creates websites from scratch. If someone has come to you because they think they're losing clients, there's a lot at stake in them getting that fixed. And hopefully you will have asked them, what is a client worth to you? So what if they say, well, a client for me, that can be anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000. So by not redoing the website, they could be missing out on at least $30,000 to $50,000, if not many times more than that, because of all the clients who went to their website, were unimpressed, and went away. We've all been in that position where you check someone out online and think, oh, this is really outdated, and it colors your opinion of that company. So that's the first thing, is to really make sure that you help them see that this is their chance to solve this problem and get them kind of reconnected with the problem. The second thing to do when there's back and forth around pricing is do what I call don't take the bait. So taking the bait is to get into a big back and forth about the price. But in fact, if they're questioning you on the price, it's because they don't yet see the value. So don't take it personally. It's not about you. First of all of our brains are hardwired to protect us. So some part of their brain, it's in a part called the amygdala, is freaking out, going, oh, you might be spending money here. You might be making a big change. Let's keep you protected and keep everything the same. That's called status quo bias in psychology. So in order to override their status quo bias, you want to have case studies and examples of successful clients that you can share with them right in that moment. Because the best way to help them overcome that fear of committing to you and paying your rate is when you share, let's say you're that website company that helps to update websites. You might say, oh, you remind me of a company I worked with last year. Their website was actually older than yours. They hadn't updated it in 8 years. And they told me that one of their clients said to them that they went with a competitor because when they showed the website to their boss, the boss vetoed it and said, this all looks really out of date. So they really needed the help. And we spent 3 months working with them, about a month doing research, another month making sure that we had all the branding and copy correct. And by the end of month 3, they had a totally new website. They launched it 6 months ago. And in that 6-month period, they've actually closed 8 new deals, which has led to, let's see, how much were their deals? I think they charged $20,000 each. So that was another $160,000 that they wouldn't have made. So I don't know if that helps you to make the decision, but we would love you to be our next success story. What I did there was get them off of the price issue and get them focused on what is the value I'm going to get. Oh, I'm going to now be like that other company, bringing in new clients. And also, if you can mention concrete numbers, that is really helpful because they have to spend money to work with you. So they're very stuck on this number you just gave them. Let's say you say it's $15,000 for us to redo your website. Reassuring them by using numbers that former clients have already made that back tenfold is going to really help to quiet down that busy amygdala we talked about a few minutes ago that is telling them, hey, be careful, protect yourself, don't make any changes, and kind of panicking. I have videos on that too, if you want to watch that, about what happens in your buyer's brain when they're considering saying yes. But for today, let's just recap what we learned about focusing on value, not price. If you get caught up in a price conversation, it can be a race to the bottom where they can say this competitor is doing it for less or really be questioning you on your pricing. So you want to have real pricing integrity, not start discounting or backtracking like we were talking about before. And if you feel like you need to reinforce why they should work with you, then I want you to have these case studies and examples of former clients at hand. Maybe you need to start a Google Doc in your company where you write up a few case studies and everybody on the team is able to pull one of those and cite very easily some successful case studies. Maybe you need to go back to former clients and find out exactly how much money did they make from working with you so that you have those numbers at your fingertips. All right, I hope you'll use some of these tactics on your next sales call or meeting so that you can work with amazing clients who value you and also will be happy that you have this newfound confidence. Nothing turns off a client more than someone who flubs the pricing part of the conversation. It's not a good omen for working with you if you don't have confidence around your pricing. So there's all kinds of reasons to get this right. If you want a little more help with sales, take a look at our website. We have sales programs you can take on your own or with us and scaling programs. We run those throughout the year and would be happy to hop on a call and learn more about your business and see if you're a fit. In the meantime, thanks for joining me. Stay brave, go big, and I will see you next time.